mean so much to you. There's certain things that we wear around our fingers or around our necks that are symbols of our love and affection and our commitment to other people. And so he says, take the good teaching you got from mom and dad and take that with you everywhere you go and let it be like an adornment of grace around your neck. And then he says, my son, verse 10, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, well, what might they say? Come with us. Come with us. Now, let me just say this lovingly but firmly, and I don't know what crowd I'm speaking to, and so if this in any way, shape, or form hits home with your immediate family or friends or network of people that you know, it's not because I knew it ahead of time. Is it true or false that right now you and I could drive to just about any cemetery within a few miles of this church building and find young people that are buried there, and they're buried there because they listened to some friends who gave them some very, very bad advice and suggestions about what they should do for the night, or where they should go for the night, or what they should do next weekend. And it was all planned out. Mom and dad didn't know about it. They would never have approved it. But my friends, they said, come with us, come with us. It's going to be great. As we notice the text there in Proverbs chapter 1, you'll notice in verse 11, if they say, come with us, and in this context, he says, these people are even planning out something very sinister. Let's lay wait for blood. Let's lurk privily for the innocent without cause. We have no reason to be doing this. We're just out to let's swallow them up alive as the grave and whole as those that go down into the pit. And oh, here's the good news. We're all going to get some money out of this, some material wealth out of this. We'll all find precious substance. In fact, we'll have so much our houses will be filled with spoil. It's going to be great. Do you want in? Cast in thy lot among us. Let's all have one purse. We'll split the proceeds. We'll split it up. My son, walk not thou in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path, for their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood. And surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird, and they lay wait for their own blood. They lurk privily for their own lives. Let me ask you a second question. Is it true or false that we could go to just about any prison system within a 60 to 100 mile radius of where we live and find young people or people who are in prison? They're not physically dead, they're still alive, but they're not living free. They're confined because they listened to a very, very bad suggestion from someone that purported to be their friend. And look what happened. I was listening the other day to a former Saturday Night Live comedian being interviewed about his time on Saturday Night Live when Chris Farley was one of the popular comedians. And he was describing what he saw and how Chris Farley called him up one time and said, come over to my hotel room. It's going to be great. There were going to be women there of ill repute. There were going to be drugs there. And this man's married. He's a young man who's married. And he says, no, I'm good. We start rehearsal in the morning, you know. We start rehearsal in the morning. Oh, it'll be great. Don't worry about that. Come on. And he said, I watched this man disintegrate right before my eyes, along with others who saw the same thing. And I feel so guilty because I never said a word. I never tried to stop it. People were intimidated. They didn't want to upset him, and so they would let him basically bring them into his schemes, and they ended up ruining their lives, some of them, because while they were partying with Chris, their wives were at home unaware until they found out what was going on, and then suddenly children are now without a dad in the home because there's so many suggestions that sound so innocent at the time you hear them, and yet they lead to deadly, deadly consequences here and hereafter. Notice, if you're going to listen to someone, if you want someone or something to be your friend, the best friend you could ever choose is wisdom rather than foolishness. Let me illustrate this in Proverbs chapter 1 in verse 20. Wisdom is depicted as crying out a message in the streets. She's uttering her voice right there in the public square so that everyone can hear her. She is crying in the chief place of the concourse, in the open, right where people come in, and the opening of the gates. This is where the hustle and bustle was, where all the people would be coming in. And she's crying out this message in verse 22. How long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? Now, the King James Version rendering here, you think, well, what's wrong with simplicity? Now, this is another synonym for foolishness. Following that which is foolish versus that which is wise. The scorners, she said in verse 22, delight in their scorning. Fools hate knowledge. She's begging those individuals who are walking by, turn at my reproof. Listen to my warnings. I'm pouring out my spirit unto you. I'll make known my words to you because I've called, you refuse. I stretched out my hand to try to help you get out of the situation, and no man regarded. Is it true or false? They're not dead. They're not in prison. Not in a penitentiary prison anyway, but is it true or false that there are some young people who are in the prison of substance abuse because of decisions they made early on that led to this, which led to this, which led to what they're facing right now? Yes or no? Yeah, it's real. I have it in my family. You might have it in yours. Oh, this is going to be great. And then you become a slave to that which promised you so much happiness and so much joy. And oh, this is great. This is fantastic. And then it's not. And you can't just turn off the light switch and make it go away sometimes. Now you're in a substance addiction. Yeah, you can overcome it. Thanks be to God, there's possible overcoming of these. And I'm thankful that there are success stories out there. So don't be discouraged, be encouraged, but realize that sometimes all of those situations that these people find themselves in started with the first drink, the first pill, the first snort, or the first toke. Was it worth it? Listen to verse 27. When your fear comes as desolation, your destruction comes like a tornado. One minute you're fine, everything's calm, but the next minute is a tornado of destruction ripping through your neighborhood of influence. And distress and anguish, verse 27, come upon you. That's when they're going to call upon me, wisdom says, but it will be too late. I won't be there to answer. They'll seek me early, but they won't find me. And these are the folks that hated knowledge. They were so arrogant and puffed up, they didn't choose the fear of the Lord. Friends are about choices. And you know the statement that is made in the next hour that we're going to look at. Family's about choice sometimes too. What are we going to choose? Who are we going to serve? Stay in the book of Proverbs, if you will, and go with me to chapter 4. Chapter 4, and notice here is a father speaking to his children, and he's pleading for them to listen to the instructions that he's given. I give you, verse 2, good doctrine. I'm giving you the best teaching you that I can possibly get because it's coming from right here. Forsake not my law. Sometimes when we're younger, we think mom and dad are clueless. They have no idea what really life is all about. They're so out of touch. And so we sometimes listen to their warnings as if to say, wow, here they go again. So completely outdated. I don't need these warnings. Okay. Solomon writes here in Proverbs 4, "Now I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. And my father, he taught me. And he said to me, let thine heart retain my words," not just hear them and let them go in one ear and then out the other, as my mother used to say, but retain them. Retain these words and live. Now, parents, we've often preached that it's our responsibility to do the teaching, the instructing, the training, and it is. Certainly would never take that out of Scripture because God put it in there. Who am I to take it out? God says, yes, parents, your job, train, educate, demonstrate, participate in their lives. Do all the things that need to be done. And then notice, if you will, children are then told here in verse 4, your job is to take the good teaching you've received and hold on to it. To first get it and then never forget it. Look at verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. It's the number one thing on your list of things to get. Get wisdom. Whatever you do, get wisdom. And with all thy getting, you'll get understanding. Exalt her, wisdom, and she'll promote you. Look at people who are doing well, who are not in prison, who are not in addiction, and they've made wise choices. And notice, if you will, please, in verse number 8, she shall bring thee to honor when you embrace her. You've got to want her. She'll give to your head, and here we go again, an ornament of grace, something that when people see it, it adorns you and makes you look even better, rather than, oh, what happened to them? Note, hear, O my son, verse 10, receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many. You won't have a premature grave if you listen to my words. At least generally speaking, you won't. I've taught thee in the way of wisdom. I've led you in the right paths. Now when you go, you know exactly how to walk without stumbling. That's what he said, the good instruction he's given. When you run, you won't have any roadblocks in your way, tripping you up unexpectedly. You'll know exactly the path's been clear for you. And then drop down to verse number 13. And picture this being instruction. Take fast hold of it. Take fast hold of instruction. He says, don't let her go. Let her not go. Keep her. For she is thy life. Here's the best instruction manual for any way to live you could possibly find. This is it right here. Hold on fast to it. Don't ever let it go. Let it guide you and lead you. And be aware of this fact. There are going to be voices that call out to you trying to get you to quit hearing this. If you don't believe that, go back to the Garden of Eden in your mind with me. Did God give Adam and Eve adequate instruction, yes or no, about what was required of them, expected of them? Did God give Adam and Eve enough info to know what was right and what was wrong, yes or no? Yeah. You can eat of every tree in this garden, every single one of them, except for that one. That's the one in the midst. You don't eat of it. The day you do, you'll surely die. You've been warned. Does Satan say, whoa, if God is their father and their instructor, he's obviously the best father anyone could ever have. He's the best teacher anyone could ever have. So since they have God as their father and their teacher, I'm not even going to try to mess with them. They're never going to say yes to my seductions if they've been taught so well. I want you parents to realize, and young people, I want you to realize, Satan went after people that were raised and taught by the best father you could ever be taught by. And he still went after them, thinking, if I could just get them to leave what they've heard and follow my seducing words, then they're free moral agents. You've been given the power to choose. God's not forcing his ways upon you. He's telling you what they are, but you choose. Are you going to do it or not? Hold on fast to the instruction. Don't let her go. Keep her. She is thy life. That was true for Adam and Eve. If you will hold on fast to what I've taught you and keep her, then you won't have to worry about never being able to access the tree of life. But they didn't listen to God. They started listening to the seduction and the words of the devil through the form of a serpent. And you know what happened next. No wonder Proverbs 4:14 says, enter not into the path of the wicked. Don't even go close to it. Go not in the way of evil men. Don't get in their path. Don't get with the crowd. Avoid it. Whatever you do, pass not by it. In fact, best thing for you to do is turn from it and pass away. Get away, get as far away from it as you can. They sleep not except they've done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. They eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. That's the wicked path. But the path of the just, it's as the shining light. My wife and I recently traveled to India and stayed in some places we'd not stayed before and didn't understand the lay of the land like we do our own home. That's true even a hotel that you might stay at 10 miles from your house. But this flashlight feature on the phone's really a nice thing at night, isn't it? When you're in a place and you're not sure exactly where things are. Where are the obstacles that might trip me up unexpectedly? Well, let me shed some light on that. And then, okay, now I can find my way without stumbling and falling. What does God call this book? Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. So we hold this up as our light to show us what's ahead of us, to mark out the things that might trip us up and stumble us. And we know from this right here how to avoid those things. And it starts with avoiding those evil companionships. That's where we sometimes find our path going in different directions. You see two high school friends, and one of them goes in this direction and the other one goes in the opposite direction when they get into college, because oftentimes of the friends they chose in both locations. And so this is really what the Bible is saying here. The way of the wicked is like darkness. They don't even know it, what they're stumbling over, because everything's so dark. There's nothing to illuminate their path. They're walking in darkness. My son, listen to my words. Notice the next word in the King James Version, incline thine ear. Now, what's the difference between incline and recline? How many of you men have a recliner? I know probably some of you will be headed there this afternoon at some point, right? Into your recliner. And you pull that little handle or push that little button now, and you start reclining, going back. It's nice when you're hungry for sleep. That's nice, yes. What is incline? It's taking your ear almost, as it were, and going like this with it. Now, what was it you just said? I'm 64, and some of you say, that's young compared to me, sir. But it's as old as I've ever been. So I'm trying to learn how to navigate this compared to 44 and 24. So my hearing is, at times, I think, not as good as it used to be. My wife would agree with that and say, yes, that's true. So sometimes I really want to hear what someone's saying. I have to do this number. I incline my ear toward the words. What does that imply? I really want to hear what you're saying. I'm inclining, not backing away, reclining. I really want to hear what you say. Young people, when mom and dad are telling you what God said about how to face life, do this number with your heart. Incline. I really want to hear what you're saying. You actually know more than I know. You've been around. I didn't always believe this, by the way. I remember one day my dad, after I was already grown with children that were not toddlers anymore, they were old enough to understand instruction. My dad and my mom came to visit us. And I had an occasion where I had to give a pretty good speech to the young people living under my roof with me, called my children. And so I'm talking to them and really giving them a firm warning about some things that we've talked about that they're not paying attention to. And as soon as they left the room, my dad fell on the floor laughing. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I have heard that speech before. I gave you that speech. I know where you got that." And he said, "I didn't think you were listening. Apparently you were listening really well. That's almost verbatim what I said to you umpteen times." Okay. At the time when I was at that age, it was like, yeah, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Whatever. It's so much of a challenge for us to admit, hey, I need to hear that. I don't know all things. My mom and dad have life experience I don't have. This preacher and the elders, they have life experience that I've not had, and they're trying to give me tidbits from the Word of God that will give me a good illuminated path to walk. So yes, he says, "Son, lean forward to hear what I'm telling you. Incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not depart from thine eyes. Keep them, guard them, right there in the midst of thine heart." Why? Because they are life to those that find them, health to all their flesh. So whatever you do, you guard your heart with all diligence. Out of it are the issues of life. Guard your heart. So do your friends have the access to your heart? Well, look at Proverbs chapter 4. And first of all, let me show you this verse right here, and then I'm going to take you to chapter 13. I don't want to leave, though, without this. What you need to do in verse 25, let your eyes look straight on. Let your eyelids look straight before thee. Don't be distracted by the billboards that are constantly beckoning you to get off the path and to come enjoy. I'll confess to you that I lost 40 pounds recently. I'm trying to lose 35 more. I want to get back down to a weight that's closer to what I was when I got married. Although I will never get there again, I'm sure. I weighed 145 pounds the day I got married. Same height as I am now. I gained a whole nother me after we got married, and now I'm trying to get rid of some of that. I can tell you this, and I noticed you have one on the exit I took to come here. There's a Casey's General Store, and I'll tell you, the yellow cake donuts there with the chocolate frosting are like kryptonite to this dieting person at times. And so I'm thinking to myself, they've got a Casey's. The billboard's calling me, summoning me. Am I going to listen or not? Well, this is the time of year you don't make New Year's resolutions. This is the time of year when you do the stuff that makes you make those New Year's resolutions. And so I can't promise you I won't have one before I leave, but January 1, if the Lord lets me live that long, I'm back on the track. You know, I've got to get this off of me and be as good a health as I can, because I'm not 44 anymore. Bottom line is, I'm saying there are all kinds of things that may call out to us, some of them innocent and not sinful in and of themselves. But Satan's got his own billboards that are basically saying, hey, you're on the narrow way, and you can't really take your eyes off of your path very well because it's so narrow. Don't you want to relax? I've got a much broader highway you could travel, and you can just kind of sit back and relax. You don't have to be so focused on whether you're in the lane or not. Come over here, get off at this exit, and then get on my tollway. Oh, there is a price to pay. I don't want to tell you what it is just yet. Come on. And we listen to that sometimes and then find ourselves headed to a destination we never wanted to go to. So he says in verse 26, ponder the path of thy feet. Look at where you're walking. Look at where you're going. Make sure you're not going to stumble over something that jumps up and surprises you. And whatever you do, don't turn, verse 27, to the right hand and get off the path. Don't turn to the left and get off the path. You keep straight on and remove your foot from evil no matter which direction it's coming from. So now Proverbs 13. This is a statement that beautifully harmonizes with 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 33. Proverbs chapter 13, and zoom in on verse number 20. Proverbs 13 and verse number 20. Here we go. He that walketh with wise men, what? But a companion of fools. What's going on with him? Shall be destroyed. Choosing your friends carefully. I want to show you the best friend that you could really ever have. It's wisdom, yes, in a personified sense, but let me show you a person, an actual person who is without question the best friend you could ever have. Turn to John 15 with me and notice as we start closing out this message, the last few minutes here, I want you to note in John chapter 15, Jesus is talking to his apostles. He's in the upper room with them. He tells them in verse number 10, if ye keep my commandments, you'll abide in my love, even as I've kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. And these things I've spoken unto you, so I can try to bind things on you to really ruin your lives and make you feel miserable. Is that what he says? Is that why commandments are given to us by the Lord Jesus Christ, so that he can exercise his power trip over us? He says, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I've loved you. Now, why did he speak the things that he's speaking in this verse, in this context? Tell us, verse 11, he says, these things have I spoken unto you, and then he tells why he spoke them. What is the given reason by the Lord Jesus as to why he's doing any of this teaching? That my joy, wait a minute, Jesus is joyful? Yes. He's not just constantly walking around sad and somber. No. Jesus, what are you facing right now? I mean, you're joyful and you're talking about other people. What are you facing? Oh, yeah, it's not going to be long until I'm arrested. And then, yes, they're going to brutalize me. They're going to beat me, scourge me, slap me, spit on me. They're going to end up nailing me to a tree, and I'm going to hang there for hours. And then I will finally give up the ghost and die and be in paradise. And then on the third day, I will rise again. Yeah, all that's going to happen. And you know it's going to happen? Yes, I know it's coming very soon. Why are you so focused on joy that others can have? And how could you be joyful when you're facing what you're facing? These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy, how much joy does Jesus want you to have? That your joy might be full. So this is my commandment. If you, he says, that you love one another as I've loved you, because greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for whom? His friends. Do you have a friend you would lay down your life for? My wife, my best friend. I think I would, yeah. How long is your list of friends that you would actually lay down your life for? And if you're sitting next to a friend, they may be wondering, am I on the list? Would you lay down your life for me? Jesus, what do you know about it? Really? What do you know about laying down your life for friends? He is the role model for doing that. He didn't deserve to die. He was willing to die for you and for me, laid down his life so that you and I might become his friends. And then Jesus says this in verse number 14, ye are my friends. Wait a minute, let me process this. Am I reading what I'm reading here? Jesus is really saying that I am his friend, or the apostles could be his friends, and I could be his friend. I don't know if you've ever known anyone in high school that went on to become famous as a celebrity, whether an athlete, a singer, an actor, a business person, whatever. Chances are there are folks in this building that we could find that went to school with someone or lived in the same neighborhood as someone that the rest of us in this building would know because we've heard of them. And sometimes we think that's a big deal. Yeah, I went to school with that person. They've got 48 million followers on their social media site, and I went to school with them, had the same classes with them. Wow, that's amazing. I was like on the same football team with this guy that's now an NFL superstar. Wow. And we had lockers right next to each other. What was that like? I don't know who you admire that's not in the Lord's church, whether athletically, musically, business-wise, whatever. I don't know whom you admire, but I do know this. There's nothing they could ever give you, even if they called you up today and said, hey, we hadn't seen each other in forever, and I'm not even sure you remember me. I want you to be my best friend. How many people in the world would give anything to be best friends with this person? You and I have the opportunity to be best friends with Jesus, the best friend we could ever have. And I close by asking you to go to John 16. And notice, if you will, please, in John chapter 16, in verse number 20, Jesus says, verily, verily, truly, truly, I say to you, ye shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. Ye shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. A woman, when she's in labor, she has sorrow when she's in that travail, because her hour is come. As soon as she's delivered of the child, she remembers no more the anguish for joy that a man is born into the world. And you now, therefore, have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and that's a joy, your joy, no man can take from you. Let me ask you, what could the best well-known celebrity or businessman on the planet, he's at the top of the Forbes 500 list, what could he give you as a friend that would top what Jesus can give you as a friend? Tell me what it is. Money? No, you'll leave the money behind. I'll close with this. Our youngest son, was named after a young man that I met when I was in my 20s, preaching in Knoxville, Tennessee. He and his brother were restored not long after I got there as the preacher, and we were able to work with them, and they were both restored. He was a tremendous athlete and was really, really impressive to watch play basketball. And he came to me one day at church services. He said, I got 2 words for you: getting married. Will you do the ceremony? I said, yeah, I'd love to do your ceremony, sure. I married him and his wife in the ceremony that day. And then a few months after they got married, he comes to me and he said, doctors have been concerned about an infection that I have that's not going away. And they've just realized this week that it's not an infection after all, it's cancer. But they said it's a happy cancer, if there is such a thing, as far as the cure rate for it is concerned. So I think we're okay. But as it turns out, they had misdiagnosed it for so long as an infection that by the time they determined it was cancer, it had started doing work that they couldn't reverse. So I married him and his wife when he was 24 years old. And when he was 26 years old, I preached his funeral. And at that time, Howard Stern was all the rage in the 1980s. He had signed a $100 million contract to say any filthy thing that came to his mind on satellite radio, and the FCC couldn't stop him because it's subscription radio. You can spew out all the filth you want, and people are paying for it. It's fine. Just say it. And they made a movie about him, and it was all about following the lust of the flesh. And here he's living in a mansion, celebrating the high life, while my friend, who's trying to live for the Lord as best he can, is withering away and dying on his couch. And then I remembered John 16. You as a Christian may have sorrow now, but someday you'll have a joy that no man can take from you. And I pray that Howard Stern finds that joy. I have nothing against him personally. I'd be glad to sit down and have a Bible study with him if he would. There's something much better than anything he's ever experienced. The best friend you and I could ever have. His name is Jesus. I hope he's your friend. Hope you'll do what he asks, and pray for me to do the same.